All right, hey everybody, I'm Jeremy with Full of Sit Dog Training,
Desi here with Highway to Heal.
and we're going to be talking about some scared dogs, fearful dogs.
Fearful dogs, reactive dogs, even aggressive dogs.
One thing that I want to lead off with is I want everybody to know that fear is a perfectly normal thing. It's not something that you've done, okay? It's the dog's genetics and lack of socialization most of the time. So it's nothing that you've done to the dog to cause them to be afraid. So it's not your fault, okay? Everybody asks me all the time, like, what did I do to make my dog so afraid? Nothing. All right,
And sometimes fear is just natural. It's instinctual.
Yep.
You know, we all have self-preservation to a degree, right? So
Absolutely.
certain fears are normal, rational. Some fears are irrational. So we're going to kind of go through that for you guys today too, so you can kind of start to understand the difference, and maybe hopefully for those of you out there who do have a fear reactive dog or kind of blaming yourself, maybe you can kind of lay off yourself a little bit and understand it so we can help you fix it.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about kind of rational versus irrational fears.
Yep.
So what's not normal is what we call irrational fears. So dogs that are super afraid of stuff that there's no reason to be afraid of.
Inanimate objects. So you've got irrational fears would be maybe like a fan, a broom, trash bags,
chairs,
some of those kinds of things. We consider those pretty irrational.
Yeah. Some rational fears would be new, novel things to the dog. So, other dogs that they're meeting for the first time, it's probably rational for them to be a little bit nervous when they're first meeting another dog, or strangers, new people.
New environments with different things that they've maybe never seen before, like the sliding doors,
revolving
into the
doors.
Revolving doors. I learned that one the hard way. Some people, I took my new dog to Petco and she freaked out and wouldn't go through the doors. That's pretty rational, I would say.
Yeah, if it's their first time seeing it, then absolutely.
So when you do have a dog that's afraid of things like this, people really need to understand, number one, you should not be correcting fear. So if a dog is afraid to go through the sliding doors at Petco, jerking the leash and dragging them through is probably not the right way to do it. You don't want to correct the fear. What you want to do is recondition the fear, and actually recondition the fear. Turn it into a normal occurrence so the dog is not afraid.
Yeah, we don't want to try to punish the dog and make them not afraid. Doesn't work.
Not gonna. It's probably going to escalate the fear is what it's going to do, because now the dog's going to have an even more negative association, because now they're being punished they're being punished and they're afraid. So that's probably going to take it to a whole nother level.
Yep. So if I'm afraid of spiders and I walk into a room that has 20 spiders or tarantulas running around the floor, and Desi walks up and clobbers me over the head with a 2x4 because I'm scared of spiders.
Deal with it. You're fine.
That's not going to make me better.
He's going to be mad and afraid now. I'm probably going to get throat punched. Okay, so what we want to do is we actually want to take you through the progression from fear into reactivity and then on to actual aggression. Because a lot of people are dealing with this in different stages. A lot of people don't really understand how to correct it, how to fix it, how to change it. So we want to kind of walk you through the map of how we actually get to that aggressive state, and then we're going to come back around and break it down and walk you through step by step to try to find out where you might be with your dog and where you actually need to start.
All right, when we're talking about reactivity precedes aggression. Okay, so the first step is the dog's fearful of something, and then they learn to be reactive, and then if we don't stop it, then they learn to be aggressive towards something to make it go away. So reactivity versus aggression. Reactivity really is just kind of what it says, reactivity. The dog is reacting to something that it's not sure about. Most of the time it's not in a favorable way.
Usually their reactions are something that we don't like,
right,
and that people view as aggression, when really it's just fear.
Right.
And they've got to have an outlet, and usually dogs' outlet is through their voice. They bark, they might growl, they might back up. It's really just get me out of here kind of thing.
And then most of the time when people are talking about a dog being aggressive, what they're talking about is a dog that not only is barking at things, but it's barking and lunging at them, or it's snapping at them with their teeth in an attempt to bite them, or even is biting something to make it go away. So we ideally want to stop. We want to address the reactivity before it turns to aggression.
Yep. So one thing that people need to understand is when you do have a fearful dog, they're already afraid, you maybe already know this about them, what degree of pressure does it take before the dog actually does react? What degree of pressure does it take before the dog actually becomes aggressive? So you've got to understand the signs of fear in your dog in order to understand what your dog's threshold is. So if the dog's afraid of people, but if they're 10 feet away, he's fine. As soon as they get to be 5 feet away, the dog starts barking. Okay, that's pressure. You're putting pressure on an existing fear. Granted, you can't control always what other people do, but once you start to see the signs and pay attention, your dog might be backing up, they might be even hiding behind you, or they might be lunging forward because they just feel like they need to take control of the situation because maybe you're not. So there's different degrees for different dogs.
Right. And a lot of times, if we're really paying attention to the dog, we'll see signs that our dog is afraid of something early on if we know what we're looking for. So a lot of times the dog's going to avoid looking at something that they're afraid of. If it's like a person or another dog. If it's an inanimate object, they may stare at it and like be real attentive to it, but they're moving away from it at the same time. So they're kind of watching it like, I don't know what that is. Is it going to sneak up on me and get me or what?
Sammy with the cardboard cutout in Lowe's.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He was really worried about that.
So if we see the dog acting out of fear, we can address it then. We can get the dog used to whatever it is that they're afraid of, hopefully, and get them over it. And then the same thing goes for reactivity. We always want to address these things as soon as we see them. So if we don't recognize that the dog is afraid of something, but we do recognize now they're being reactive to it, so the dog's running from something or it's barking at something, then we address it then. And we do that by counter conditioning.
And I like that you pointed out the dog is maybe running away. So a lot of people think that when a reactive dog is only the dog that's going to be barking and maybe even growling and maybe even snapping. Reactivity is a reaction. So you've got a dog that's strong in fight or flight. You've got a dog that's strong in flight. They're going to try to escape. But if you're holding onto the leash and you allow that pressure to continue, you've taken away their flight, you might actually get a fight. So even though the dog's running away, it's still a reaction, and it's not a good one. It's still something that needs to be addressed and taken care of and fixed.
Right.
So how do we counter condition things? So
ideally, we start at the closest that we can get a dog to something without them being reactive to it. So if my dog is scared of a baby stroller, I'm going to back my dog up 20 feet, and if they're not afraid of the baby stroller at 20 feet, then I'm going to hang out there and get my dog comfortable, and then I'm going to move, maybe 15 feet up to the baby stroller and hang out there and let my dog get comfortable. So it's kind of a long process that we got to go through, but we always try to get our dogs better. We always try to help them get better before it turns into aggression.
So now not all dogs are afraid of strollers, and maybe the owners just don't care that they're afraid of strollers. I guess a dog can't really hurt a stroller, so some people don't even care about dogs being afraid of inanimate objects. But how important is it to still get them past that irrational fear? Again, this is an irrational fear. It's something that maybe they just have never been around. It's stupid to be afraid of a stroller. So is it really important to get them past those kinds of fears? How important is it if it doesn't matter to the owner?
It's still pretty important. I mean, we're talking about the mental well-being of the dog, and we can't always control our environment. So it's it may not be important to someone that has a dog that only goes once a year to the vet, and the other 364 days a year the dog's locked up in the house. But to me, it's still important, because what happens if that one day out of the year you take your dog to the vet and
There's
a young lady comes in with a kid pushing it in a stroller and your dog freaks out? Like, sorry.
I also think it's important though too, because I'm always really big on like increasing the dog's problem solving abilities.
Yeah.
I'm really big on helping them overcome things, even if learning a new trick is overcoming something. It's something they never knew and they learned how to do it. Overcoming a fear, learning how to climb the stairs, all these different things I'm really big on, because then eventually what you have, if you work hard and you're diligent, eventually you have a pretty well-rounded, confident dog. So if you find that your dog's afraid of a broom, don't crate him while you sleep. Get him over the fear of the broom. Right?
And I'm glad you
all the way around.
I'm glad you said that, because it does really, even if it's not important to you to get your dog used to being around the stroller or a broom or whatever, okay, if we can get the dog over it, it does wonders for the dog's confidence. So it boosts the dog's confidence a little bit.